everyone. I'm here with another episode of the, what do you call it? The Witchcraft for Beginners series that I'm doing. If there are any topics that you want me to cover, please put in the comments below. I'm also going to do every so often a Q&A as well. So if you have any questions, you can definitely put them down below, and we can either answer them in a Q&A, or if it warrants a whole video, I can do a whole video as well. So I talked about like what witchcraft is, that it's a practice and not so much a religion, although it can be, but you can be any religion and practice witchcraft. So now I'm going to be talking about, just some of the tools and things, some of the things that go into things when you start. And one of the most basic things that you can start with is a journal. It does not have to be anything fancy. You can look online and look at Pinterest and look on Tumblr, just Google, look at YouTube. You will find all sorts of beautiful, gorgeous, what they call books of shadows or grimoires. So a book of shadows is really just a fancy name for a witch's journal. And some are super fancy. They are made in like beautiful, leather-bound, gorgeously decorated books. Some people buy these beautiful journals. Some people make them, and then they put together all of their learnings, all of their spells, all of their correspondence tables into a beautiful book. But I think that when you're starting out, that can be incredibly intimidating. Now, if you are a crafty person who likes that sort of thing, I'm saying totally go for it. I had the idea I was going to do that, and I bought this huge giant, it's like a 300-page thick sketchbook thing that I was going to fill, and I just never did. The other problem I think with getting a super fancy, beautiful journal is I think it can be intimidating to actually write in it. For some people it's inspiring, and if you're one of those people, please go buy yourself a fancy, super fancy journal. But for many of us, it becomes like, oh, I have to make this a work of art. I have to make it look perfect. And then you don't actually use the thing. And so it's best to just start yourself off with just a regular old journal. And so I have, I have to admit, when it comes to books of shadows or grimoires, as they call them as well, I'm terrible at keeping them, to be honest. I mean, I've been practicing since I was about 15, so 30 years. And I don't think I've ever filled a book because I start them and then I just don't write stuff down. I don't know why. I'm really good at keeping a personal journal. I'm really good at keeping a sketchbook for drawings. But when it comes to writing down readings and writing down the spells I'm doing, I just don't. I don't know why. I keep trying to. Like, this is my latest attempt. It is just a regular sketchbook. As you can see, it says sketch on there. And I have in here my reading that I did at the beginning of the year, my rune reading, where I was like, hey, I'm gonna use this, and then I didn't. So I'm not really one, I guess, to be talking about, the importance of using a journal. But I agree, it is super important because when you're beginning, when you're starting out, it's a really great safe space to write some of your thoughts and insights into. It's a great place to write your questions. It's a good place to record things like your readings when you're learning to read cards or runes or whatever it is that you're reading. It's a good place if you're learning anything like herbalism or astrology or crystals. You can write them down, write that information all down for yourself. And so at the beginning, I did do it a little bit more, but over the years, I've just become lazier and lazier about it, to be honest. And I really want to get back on track with making, or not just making, but writing in a journal. One of the things, like I said, is not to go out and buy yourself a super fancy one, especially if you're starting out, because it can be really intimidating to fill those things. And if you go and look on like Pinterest and Tumblr and things like that at people's books of shadows, they're gorgeous, some of them. And it can be really intimidating to be like, do I have to make it look this beautiful? Not all of us are artists, right? And not all of us crafty or whatever. And definitely use those things as inspiration for things, but don't feel like you have to do that. If your book of shadows just looks like a bunch of writing and maybe some doodles, there's nothing wrong with that because it's for you. It's not for anybody else. So don't be afraid to just buy yourself a journal from the dollar store to start out with, if that will make you, feel better. Now, if you feel like you need something fancy to start with, again, go ahead and do that. I just don't want anyone to be intimidated by some of the things that they see, especially if you're starting out. It's not going to look like that, and that's totally okay. So books as shadows, I think, are important, as bad as I am at keeping them. I do think they are a really great idea. I think they are something that can really help you, and they can show you your development along your practice. Like, I wish I had, more, like, I wish I had more stuff that kind of showed my development and my progress over the years, so I can look back on things, and it'll show you how much you've changed and grown, and you may have changed your mind about certain things. You can see how far back, like, hey, I've been doing rituals this style forever. Or, for this phase, I was interested in Celtic mythology, and then I became interested in Egyptian, or whatever it is. But really use it as a place, as a journal. Don't worry about, making it look all perfect. Don't worry about, having certain sections that are for this and this. Just get it down in a journal on paper. Some of the things that you can put in your books as shadows are dreams that you've had that you feel are important. Spells that you've cast, writing them down, what the tools you use, the time of day, what the process was. Leave a little space for yourself as well for results to kind of like look back on like how that actually played out. And this can be really good for showing you like what things worked and what things didn't. You can write down correspondences that you find. You can make notes about books that you're reading about witchcraft. That way you can write down what you agree with, what you don't, what you want to incorporate into your practice, that kind of thing. You can also make notes, like I said, about things you're learning, like crystals or herbs or the chakras or astrology, whatever it is that you're looking at. You can make notes about that in there. You can record your readings that you're doing for yourself and for others in there, and that'll help you to show your progress. Some people separate out, they'll have like, they'll separate them into different ones. They'll have like a dream journal, and they'll have a tarot journal. They'll have a, one just for their witchcraft practice. And for some people that works better. For others, just putting it all in one book, you kind of have all your spiritual type stuff in one place. You can just journal in there your ideas and your thoughts about things. Like, it just make it a safe sort of space for yourself, a non-intimidating, safe space for your practice. What some people do is, not everybody likes kind of the journal format. What some people will do is they have a binder, and so they'll put sections in it. So they'll have, a section for notes on the books they read. I'll have a section for spells, I'll have a section for tarot, a section for crystals. Like, they can divide it out that way. And the good thing with binders is you can move stuff around, so you're not kind of locked into like, pages being in a certain order. You can move them around within your binder. I did use a binder for a while, and I found that that did help me a bit, and I might even go back to that. Again, I'm still struggling with this to a certain extent. So binders can be really helpful. And for some people, writing it down physically doesn't really work for them. For some people, an online journal is what works. And don't be afraid, to use that. I mean, I think there is something really nice about the handheld object, but we're not all the same. It's not a one-size-fits-all world. So if you want to just keep one online recording it, that's fine. And then you can make folders for yourself where you have them organized into different folders, different notes for different things. There's nothing wrong with that either. So don't be afraid to do that. The other thing too that you can do is an art journal. For some people, they're not super writey, analytical type people. For some people, they actually literally make it into an art journal. So they'll take a sketchbook, they'll take a blank pages, and they might do a drawing for the goddess, or they might do a painting for, oh, we're in the season of Aquarius, I'm going to do an Aquarius drawing or painting, and it's a little bit more free-flowing and a little bit more artsy. Nothing wrong with that. The point is that the journal should speak to you and who you are as a person. It is not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's going to be something that's personal to you, but I do encourage you to keep one, especially if you're starting out, because it'll really help you to see your progress and where you're going, and it'll help you to see what things you're interested in and what develop your unique practice. So I'm going to continue to struggle with keeping a book of shadows. I'm going to keep trying, going to keep working on it. I'm going to, I should try to fill this year and see where it takes me. Again, I'm still thinking about the binder thing. I actually still have my binder. It's right over there. That's why I keep looking over there, and see if that helps me more. But part of me wonders about just keeping a journal like this. And again, I picked something that wasn't super intimidating. I did pick a blank sketchbook because I wanted to do, just drawings like this, where if it's a reading or something, I could just draw it out without having to worry about the lines. And just kind of see where it goes and where it takes me. But yeah, Books of Shadows Grimoires, I think they're probably like the place to start when you're starting your practice, because you can really write down your thoughts, your ideas, all of that stuff. You can make lists of things like books I want to read, favorite podcasts, all those kind of things, and just put them all together into a journal. What some people do too is they'll have like a rough one. They'll have one that they write all that stuff in, and then they'll do one later that's fancier, that looks more like the Pinterest ones, because once they've collected sort of some knowledge and they have it organized into certain things. So don't be afraid to split it up like that if you need to do that. Let me know, if you're a beginner, you have any questions, let me know. But as well, if you have any ideas about Books of Shadows for other people, or for me even, put in below as for how you do it, how you organize it if you're keeping one. What do you use for your Book of Shadows? Or are you like me, who do you struggle with keeping a Book of Shadows? Let me know what you think. I would love to hear it. And again, if you have any other questions or anything, let me know. If you're interested, I do have on my Patreon, I do have an online coven. We're working with Uranus this month, the month of February. We're working with Uranus on curiosity and miracles and asking for our big dreams, as well as in Witch School, we're studying working with angels. So if you're interested in any of those things, you can click on the little linky links below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. And as always, thank you so much to my patrons who really help and support me to bring all this content to you guys. And as always, peace and love.